Franny K. Stein, Mad Scientist, Book 10, Mood Science, Chapter 6, Just Not Feeling It. Franny looked through her long list of projects. Here's one that I wanted to get started on, inventing an ice cream that would never melt. Franny thought for a moment. I must have been feeling pretty silly when I thought of that, she said. Ice cream that never melts? Isn't that just a milkshake? Without her silly side, Franny didn't feel like pursuing that one, and she crossed out the idea. Okay, let's have a look at the next one, she said, reading down her list. A robot that finds her lost pet because it's so sad when somebody loses a pet. I don't know. When I think about it now, that doesn't really seem that sad to me. She looked out the window. Look, there's that weird toad I created, hopping away, and I really don't care. I mean, most animals don't live in houses with people. What's the big deal if a few more leave home? Without her feeling of sadness, the project just didn't seem very important to her, and she crossed it out. She looked at the next project on her list. Ah, she said with a smile, now this one should be good. It has a monster in it. I always enjoy making monsters. Her notes described making a giant slobbery creature that would sit on the roof of your house. Oh yes, and it has slobber. This has real potential, Franny said. She kept reading her notes. They said that if your house caught on fire, the monster would drool all over it and put out the fire. I like the drooly part, Franny said, but what does a house fire have to do with it? She read the note she had written on the sketch. It said, "Fires are scary." Your house catching on fire is supposed to be scary? Franny scoffed. That doesn't scare me. Without her fearful side, Franny didn't see the point in pursuing it. That was the last thing on her list. She had no more projects written down. No more projects to do? Franny asked. That used to really upset me. She climbed down from her chair and shuffled over to a couch where Igor was watching TV. But I got rid of my angry side, so I really don't feel mad that I have nothing to do. In fact, I really don't feel like doing anything. And she plopped down next to Igor and stared at the TV for a very long time. Chapter 7. I've never not felt like this before. Igor wasn't upset with Franny anymore, and he really liked watching TV with her. But after a couple of days of watching TV, he began to notice that Franny didn't laugh at the funny parts. She didn't get sad when tragic things happened. When they watched a scary movie, Franny never screamed or jumped. Sometimes Igor would pick a really bad movie just to see if Franny would get angry about it. But Franny never reacted very much at all. Without her feelings, she was kind of boring. Igor had seen Franny be a lot of things, but never boring. Eventually, they didn't watch anything but the news. Chapter 8. Duty Calls. This just in, the newscaster on the TV said. Reports are coming in that a strange new disease is turning people into toads. Igor sat up straight and stared at the TV. Franny just shrugged. She didn't feel anything. Nah, she said, it's probably my fault. Scientists have shared this sketch, the newscaster said. They believe that the illness may have started with this toad, which seems to have been infected with a highly contagious virus. Igor recognized it as the toad Franny had created. He ran to look in the bowl where she'd kept it. She had broken the bowl during her tantrum, along with the test tube that had held her virus. Yes, Igor, she said with a yawn. I'm way ahead of you. That escaped toad of mine must have caught that virus I created and it mutated. I probably accidentally released a horrible thing into the world. I suppose it is going to end pretty badly. Sometimes I wonder if leaving weird viruses just lying around might not be a good idea. Igor held up the broken bowl the toad had been kept in. Look, lots of things I make can be an eensy-weensy bit life-threatening. That's just the way it is. The TV began to show scary pictures of people turning into toads. See, you see there? She said, pointing weakly at the screen. They look just like my toad. Yes, this is definitely my fault. But Franny wasn't scared. The TV showed pictures of people crying about their families turning into toads, but Franny wasn't sad. And when the reporter said that the illness was totally awful, she didn't laugh. Franny wasn't silly anymore. Igor, hand me the remote, she said. Franny took the remote from Igor's wet, warty green hand. What's the deal with your hand? She asked. You should probably switch to a different soap. But it wasn't the soap. Igor had caught the disease. He too was beginning to transform. Igor, don't take this the wrong way, Franny said, but ew! Franny got up from the couch and hopped over to her refrigerator. That's weird, Franny said. When did I start hopping? A fly went past, and for just a moment, Franny thought about snatching it out of the air with her tongue. I guess I'm turning into a toad too, she said and shrugged, just like the rest of the world. Igor stared at her with big, terrified eyes, which were beginning to look a bit toady. Oh well, she said, that's how it goes sometimes with these worldwide toad diseases. Oh no, it's not, a little voice called out. That's not how it goes. Franny looked around. Where is that voice coming from? She asked. I'm in here, the voice said. Somebody is in the mixer-upper, Franny said, and she opened the door. The small, determined-looking version of Franny stepped out. How did you get in there? Franny asked. Angry Fran told you there were more than 4 feelings. I was still in there, but you shut the door on me. Why didn't you say something sooner? I'm pretty quiet until I have a reason to speak up. Who are you? Franny asked. I'm your sense of duty, she said. Did you say duty? Franny asked. Because if I still had a silly side, I might laugh at that. Not duty, I'm your sense of duty. It's spelled D-U-T-Y. I'm the feeling you have when you know that you must have to do something, even if you don't really feel like doing it. I don't really feel much of anything, Franny said. Well, I do. Duty, Fran said forcefully, and I'm afraid we don't have much time. You're kind of pushy, Franny said. Well, yes, that's kind of my whole thing. Duty, Fran said. Let's go. Where are we going? Franny asked. We're getting all your parts back together. Duty, Fran said. You might say that we're going to herd your feelings. Duty Fran grinned broadly at Franny, who looked back at her with no expression. Your silly side would have thought that was funny, Duty Fran said.